And hello, I think we are officially live. Welcome, Dominic, and welcome, Mac, to the stream. Today, we are going to be talking. The reason why I've got you two fantastic fellows on is that we are talking about gene splicing. Now, for anybody who doesn't know, yep, go on.
And another reason, because we are Team Pirate.
Oh, are you? Are you? Well, I better represent Team Dino then.
Well, we can go ahead and run a show and talk about gene splicing without you.
See, I do have a secret favorite, but I'm not allowed to say who it is. You know, in the interests of fairness. Yeah, we're going to talk about gene splicing. For anyone who doesn't know, there is a special pledge level on our Kickstarter. They're all gone, I'm afraid, but perhaps we'll do it again next time. But you can basically, well, actually, why don't one of you describe what it is and why, Mac? What's your take?
Well, my take on it was, it's kind of like, I went in my games, I like being part of the world building anyway. When you've created such a wonderful world to play in, and I've already created my own little spots in my little place in South Carolina where we play the Drowned Earth, where we've expanded it, and this is kind of a way to get some of that in there officially, to be able to design or be part of the design process for a model and be famous like Dominic in the Drowned Earth. Yeah, I'm not sure if anybody's going to match Blue Wing for sheer coolness, but we're all, I'm sure, going to do our very best to do that. And it was just a neat opportunity. And I think I've seen that kind of thing in a few Kickstarters, but I'm not sure that I've ever seen it where you get to be part of the process of designing a miniature that's going to be in the game versus just a little bit of fluff. I think fluff probably a little more common. But
we did in the first Kickstarter, we did a number of competitions, and we're doing some similar things this time as well. They're not competitions. Nobody wins anything. You're not allowed to call them competitions. These are strict Kickstarter rules. But events in which people are allowed to write we had what did we have? We had a location, we had a race, and they were all things that would go in the rulebook. Of course, that being a big fat hardback rulebook, we had lots of room for fluff chapters, whereas this time around these are just little sort of pamphlet rulebooks inside the box, and so there won't be quite as much room for that kind of thing. We're going to do a bit of world building, definitely, because one of the things that I'm really excited about Alaya Chronicles, not just this one, but in the future, is that we get to bounce around the Drowned Earth and explore the world a little bit more. And I remember you, Mac, in I think it was during the first Kickstarter, actually, I remember you sending me a message saying, I'm really glad that you've made this world, and it seems very fleshed out, but you also seem to have left spaces where people can let their own imagination run wild. And I think that's really important. You're absolutely right. You don't want to map out every single detail and crush anybody else's opportunity to be creative in their own games and in their own sessions. And
sure, because then you get real buy-in into the game. You don't get people just playing the game. You get people, for lack of better terminology, kind of living the game when it's on their table, because they cut out their own little slice of it and make it theirs, and that's awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. You want that real kind of immersion, and that and for me, it's actually really fun. And the reason why I did the Gene Splicer pledge level again this time, it doesn't actually make money. It's the cost of it is slightly less than the cost of actually bringing a model to market. But for me, it's an inexpensive way of getting another model in the range that I wouldn't have been able to get in otherwise. But really, I just loved the process last time around. And we had 5. This time we've done one more. We had 5. Every single person was really interested in not just sort of handing over a shopping list and saying, go do this. but everybody wanted to be part of the creative process and have
Right.
a real dialogue and a conversation and you know, sort of brainstorm ideas. And so it was fun. It wasn't just an, okay, I've got a brief from somebody that I'm now going to hand over to the artist. It was that we had a real conversation about what would be cool and talking about the backstory of the models and this kind of thing. And it was great. And of course, both you two, we've started that process already.
Yes, it's very fun.
I read through the old chat today. We've got a Facebook chat group with the old Gene Splicers.
Yeah.
And I today I read through the old messages again, and it was hilarious. It was so much fun to get into the creative process to learn how to create Wishbone. Wishbone was a real fun character to talk about because I think. Wait a minute. It was Tristan, or I think it was Tristan who created Wishbone.
No. Wishbone is. Oh God, I'm terrible with names. He's somebody who I actually know personally, and so it's doubly embarrassing. And it's not that I can't remember his name. It's that the moment you're put on the spot, all of a sudden. Well, I do this all the time, particularly with names of famous people. You know, that film star in that Justin Cader. Exactly. Justin Cader, and Justin was the only person that actually wanted his own avatar. He wanted it to be him, you know, and the model does look quite a lot like him. You know, it's a really, I think Wishbone, I can't remember the exact story, but it's kind of a nickname of his, or a character, or maybe just the sort of handle that he uses when he plays video games and that kind of stuff. But really, really fun character. And it was, of course, you know, this time around we've got a lot more freedom of choice because you guys not only choose which Elia Chronicles archetype you want the character to be, so that you can swap that model in when you're playing through the campaign, instead of using using the model for that particular character type or character archetype, but also you get to choose your Drowned Earth faction, whereas previously all of them were going to be mercenary models, and then it just it came to be there were 5, and I suddenly thought, you know, I didn't choose 5 for this reason, but there were 5, and we had 5 Gene Splicers. I wasn't expecting to sell out of them either, but I thought, hang on, that's how many you need for a starter box. So how about a 5th faction, and we'll do the faction and the mercenary thing at the same time. But this time, are you guys ready to reveal which Drowned Earth factions your models are going to join?
You have dibs, Dominic, because you're the old hat at this. You've already done one. Are you going to reveal?
Yeah, I will go for the Artifactors.
And I mean, Team Pirate going for the Artifactors, that's quite a statement.
I have to say, Blue Wing, as I first concepted him, was concept for Team Artifactors, but now he's more Team Pirate, and so I go now the route of the Artifactors. Yeah, with my new Gene splicing.
Well,
character.
And now, of course, because we have the sort of new thing we're doing, which I think most people will probably know about already, but for those that don't, the pirate faction, the Corsairs, and the Wayfarers are basically allied factions in that you can interchange models, leaders, etc. between those two factions to your heart's content without restriction. They're effectively the same faction to all intents and purposes, with the exception that whereas Wayfarers are mercenary models for any faction, the pirates won't be. They will be exclusively part of Wayfarer or Corsair crews. And so that means that Blue Wing has achieved his ambition of joining the pirate faction, basically.
So, Mac.
Okay, well, Mac, over to you.
Well, I really struggled with that one because I love playing the militia, but ultimately I had to go Team Pirate.
And I'm super glad about that.
Corsairs. I'm going full in as a Corsair.
Awesome. Awesome.
Good choice. Good choice.
Yeah.
So now I got a question for you, James. Did you think you were going to sell out all the Gene Splicers again?
No, definitely not. And I thought we'll do one more this time because I think I mean, I could have gone to 8 as well. It was mostly a question of, as part of the there's a cost involved for me as well. It's obviously a lesser cost because you guys are making your amazing contribution financially, but I still need to look at if I do sell out, then what's that going to cost, and can I afford it, and pricing that into the Kickstarter and the stretch goals and that kind of thing. But the other part of it is just we're using one main concept artist at the moment, kind of two, but the other guy, he has a full-time job and he works for us from time to time. The other guy is completely freelance. So the second guy who's done a few concepts for us over the last year or so is basically, he has a full-time job, but he freelances in his spare time. Whereas Pierre, who does the majority, is a full-time freelancer, and so he's much more available. But what that means is that if there's a bottleneck there, effectively, I can only give him so much work. He can only churn out so much work at a time. There's less of a bottleneck with sculpting because we work with quite a number of sculptors now. But I like having, the reason why I'm only using 2 concept artists is because they have a similar style, and it's nice to keep that kind of unified concept art style, I think. But yeah, we could have gone to 8. I thought 6 is a nice number, so that's what we've gone for. But I was amazed to sell out of them the first time, and I thought, let's bump up the numbers just in case. But really, I was expecting we'd probably have 4.
Well, surprise.
Yeah, and it's a great place to be, and so far, talking to people, obviously you two guys are long-standing members of the community. Both of you backed the first Kickstarter. Both of you have been very involved in being wayfarers and helping get demos and all of those kinds of things. So it's great to be doing this with you guys, but also I know you well enough. We've started the process already. I'm talking to 3 other guys as well, of the people who've backed the Gene Splicer level, and I'm talking, and so far everyone that I've spoken to, another 2 that I've spoken to, everybody wants their model to join a different Drowned Earth faction, which is interesting.
Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah. And I think I'm not 100% up to speed on the Elia Chronicles role, because of course what we'll do is when we're selling these figures later down the line, we'll supply them with an Elia Chronicles profile card as well as a Drowned Earth profile card, so people can use them in that kind of multi-purpose way as well. Of course, they'll be using the generic skill card upgrades, so that for their class, basically. But there should be enough opportunity within those skill decks and within your options of going in different directions and sort of building the character that the way you want to, rules wise, within Elia Chronicles. Within Drowned Earth, of course, we're talking about that, and just like last time I said, I can't let you design the rules because that doesn't quite work, but I can definitely let you tell me what kind, what you want the fluff portion of those rules to be, and I can work out a mechanical way of doing that that's kind of fair and appropriate and fun.
Keep seeing a couple comments in there keep telling me that I should make a pirate Mac. I'm like, you guys don't get to pick.
Well, all right then, let's get down to it. Mac, if it's not a pirate Mac, what pirate is it?
It is Matiu, sort of, maybe. That's tentative for the name, but he is a hippo.
Ah, awesome. Well, I mean, I'm pretending I don't know. Of course, I know this already.
Well, act more excited.
Surprise.
Oh, my goodness. And he's sort of a mix of a Polynesian, Tongan, So if anybody watched wrestling, my inspiration was Haku from wrestling, is basically him, except that he's very pleasant fellow. He's the antithesis of a pirate. He's happy. He just wants to go check out the whole world as a pirate. And really, he's a hippo. Who's going to tell him no?
Because hungry, happy hippo.
Well, Hungry Hippo was a fun game and gave us green and pink and purple and yellow hippos. Hippos are mean and they're aggressive and violent animals. So I thought it would be really cool to explore that. There's some other stuff, but I don't want to give away everything. I'm just
I don't think you should. I think we're leaving a few little surprises for people is great. But isn't there like an incredible statistic like hippos kill more people than crocodiles in Africa every year?
I believe that is correct.
It's you don't want to get between them and the water or something like that.
Or a watermelon or a melon or anything that they want to eat, because definitely. So I was pretty excited about that. I pondered it a long time because I love playing the militia. Hove is my absolute favorite character in the game just because of his backstory. Well, you wouldn't mind playing against me with Hove because I do one of two things in a game. Either he clears the board pretty much by himself, or in the very first round, I botch my roll and I no longer have a gun because I'm just way too far away to get it fixed. And I was like, well, that's just wasted points.
That's a militia thing. A good friend of mine plays militia, and Ranelle always loses her gun.
Yeah. Just when you're getting ready to, you're like, oh, I'm going to be able to take out 4 people at once.
But no, I love the sound of a happy hippo pirate, and also people will find out during the as they're playing the game that it's not quite as simple as good pirates and bad pirates, but within the pirate faction there are definitely subgroups, and so people can draw conclusions thematically during the campaign as to which side of whatever sort of political machinations are going on within the pirate faction, which side of things Mateo might come down on, and that's fun. And I think we should definitely work on some backstory to work. I'll have to let you in on a few trade secrets, so nothing we're going to be talking about now, but I can tell you a few, and I'll try not to spoil the story for you as well while telling you. But we'll have a think about it. Maybe he can even make a little a sort of cameo appearance during the campaign or something like that. We'll just refer to him somewhere in some of the text.
Well, I'll tell you, the reason I decided on the happy thing is because it's like in all the post-apocalyptic games, everyone's somber and everyone's grim. Someone has to have a good attitude. Someone out there somewhere has to be like, hey man, I live in a big giant jungle and everything I like to eat is right here. And I get to shoot people if I want to. My life is good.
Yeah, I mean, it's sailing around on the high seas and terrorizing dinosaurs. It sounds great. Yeah,
absolutely. He's just living it to the hilt. He's loving life.
So what attracted? I mean, I think we've already covered the answer a little bit. Actually, no, I'll tell you what. We'll come back to that conversation in a minute. Let's talk to Dominic. Who's your second Gene Splicer choice and why?
So after the big hippo, we go to the small and cute Moche character.
Okay.
She is called Tidala. And she will be a cute little frog.
Yes.
So I know Neil HHP is going to be super happy because he is the person who the Moche, his creation, basically. He won the race competition, not competition, in the last Kickstarter, and so they got written into the rule book, and lots of people have been asking, and he sent me the odd picture of cute looking frog people and saying, by the way, this is what I think they should look like. I'm like, okay, well, we'll see, and so I think he's going to be super happy to find out there's finally going to be a Moche miniature. And so again, for people who in fact, I'm not sure it's. I think it's written in the rule book, but the kind of moche background. Well, I don't know how much detail I've put in as far as the kind of. I've forgotten the biological term, but basically, the moche are all female, and there is one. Sort of alpha male, basically dominant male. But when he dies or is driven out or what have you, any one of the females, and whichever one is strongest, becomes the male, and so they go through a kind of gender shift as lots of amphibians and fish as well. Clownfish, I think, are famous for this also. Although I think with clownfish it's the opposite. The female becomes really they're all little males, and the male becomes a female or something like that. But yeah, it's a kind of biological thing that goes on, and quite an interesting story. And Dominic had the option of his character being either male or female, because there was something that happens is that when they are ejected from their group or decide to leave their society or group, they might turn into a little male who doesn't sort of get huge and need to be weighted on hand and foot, Jabba the Hutt style. But you went for a female anyway, and I think well, explain why. I remember what you said, but
yeah, it is a moche away from her group is a special kind of its own, and so I have thought to myself, another specialty with she is a male. Nah, that doesn't fit for me. So I won't just. Yeah, I want a girl. Perhaps in her life she turns into male. Nobody knows.
Somewhere down the line, yeah. Or maybe she returns to the group of moche that threw her out, or that she left, and comes back to be boss. A little bit like cheetah and lions do. You've got all these rogue males that get kicked out of the group, basically, because they're not the alpha, and then they come back and take over later on, or try and take over later on. But I think I really like the fact that you chose a female, just because it's the first moche in the range, and so it's nice that it's a kind of typical example of the way they are, which is fun. And do you want to sort of describe the personality of Tidala a little bit, and what kind of what's she up to in the world?
So some of the German Discord follower have met a prototype of her in the RPG.
Cool.
I played with them.
Yeah.
But it was a male, and he was kind of like Han Solo.
Mm-hmm.
And look on Tidala like Han Solo as a female, and a strong, independent smuggler. Yeah, and she's cute.
Yeah.
We decided she's cute.
Well, frogs are ridiculously cute. It's just a fact.
Yeah.
When I was talking to the concept artist, because we started work already, I said, there's no real need to make it particularly like over cartoony cute. Just draw a tree frog, because they are outrageously cute already.
Yeah, I sent a picture to James of a frog, and James has a new German word he absolutely loves: Pfeilgiftfrosch.
Yeah, you're going to have to say it, because I definitely can't spell it, and I 100% can't say it.
It is Pfeilgiftfrosch,
which is basically a poison dart frog.
Yes.
A literal translation. It's an awesome word. It's even more awesome written.
It's one long word.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's what everyone's sort of the famous thing about German, which I think is perhaps a little bit exaggerated, but you kind of make words out of gluing lots of other words together.
Yeah.
But poison dart frog, it's just, it's the same thing, right? But yeah, I think she's going to be very colorful. I don't want to reveal too much.
I hope so.
But yeah, we'll see. We'll see.
Well, I'm excited for that one.
Yeah,
I'm excited for the hippo.
Hello.
And the other question, did you mention which you said Artifactors, right?
Artifactors, yes.
Yeah. So she'll fit in nicely with the kind of roguish Han Solo style Lara Croft
Indiana
meets Han
Jones,
Solo.
Lara
Yeah.
Croft,
Yeah.
That's my
All of
second favorite faction.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Cool. And which one thing we haven't discussed is which Elia Chronicles character archetype are we talking about? So there's 4. We've got the marksman, which is, obviously ranged combat specialist, brawler, close combat specialist, tough, kind of tank archetype, and then a scout, which is the kind of, stealthy, tricksy type archetype. I'm going to guess, Mac, that you're not the scout.
I am. No. Come on, a hippo scout. Everybody wants a hippo scout. Doesn't say he had to be good at it. Nobody's going to tell him he can't be the scout. No, I
don't want to tell him he can't.
Exactly.
I see him in the water, just the eyes looking out.
There you go. See, that's why he's just coming in like this. It is the drowned Earth, so he should have plenty of opportunity.
Yep.
No, I think he'll be the tough.
Cool. That fits. That works well. And Dominic?
Yeah, Titala will be also the tough.
Absolutely.
No,
now, behave.
She will be the scout.
Okay, and that's quite fitting because Moche are, they sort of they're a little bit tribal and live in these sort of jungle cities, vertical cities with lots of cool. In fact, I'm not going to say too much about it because I think we'll do a bit more Moche fluff in the book. So because we have, I think, just today unlocked breaking the rulebook into 2. Yeah. That does something quite nice. It means that considering we're talking about having a rules reference and a campaign log, what I was going to do was just print the flip side of the book upside down. So whichever way you're looking at it, you're leafing through it from left to right, and it's in. That seemed like quite an easy way to divide the rulebook into 2. This way, when we actually physically divide it, I think we'll have a few more pages, and so we will be able to do a little bit of fluff and hopefully some character bios. But I won't make the character bios a priority. I hope we'll have room to do them. Really, what I want to do is expand on the Thousand Isles as a place. As much as we have on some of the other regions of Elia, which are developed in the main rulebook. So that's number 1 priority. And clearly there are Moche and the Thousand Isles as well, and perhaps hippo people that don't actually exist anywhere else but the Thousand Isles. That's a possibility. But yeah, we'll see what we can do with that. But that's quite a nice thing about being able to break up the rulebook. It frees up a little bit of space. Yeah.
I think too, though, people can, if they don't end up with too much of a backstory, people can certainly do their own, That's what's so great about the game, is just making it your own.
Yeah, and I feel like the thing about an area like the Thousand Isles, and something that I really love about it, is there are 1,000 of them, and I'm not going to describe each one individually. Right. I'm going to mention the really important ones and sort of talk about the geopolitical situation of the area and the kind of what kind of nature you find and what's typical. But who's to say that on this island there isn't something completely different, or just the details aren't filled in, and it's up to you to fill them in for your games, and particularly if we ever do a proper, obviously we've released a little a 1-page RPG for all backers for this Kickstarter, and incidentally, if you want to sign up to that game, it's Dominic, when is it? Is it Wednesday?
Wednesday, yes.
So tomorrow night.
It's tomorrow night.
Tomorrow night around this time, 7:30.
7:30. Pete is the GM, and yeah.
Yeah. So 7:30 British Standard Time, which is GMT, 6:30, right?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. No. 8:30.
8:30. Right.
Yeah.
Yes. So the next question is, I wanted to ask you guys, what attracted you to the Gene Splicer pledge level in the first place? Obviously, we've talked about your sort of an opportunity to contribute to the world in a really solid way, but why is that exciting? And why in particular a character? Is there any sort of personal story about the kind of character that you've gone for, or anything you've got to say about that?
For me, there's nothing significant about the character insofar as like I have some kind of weird affectation for hippos or anything. I mean,
you had a pet hippo once.
I did have a pet hippo. It was a scout. No, it wasn't anything like that so much as it was, I do a lot of editing for rule books and stuff. So I just like getting my name in the book. They're like, how much does it cost to get editing done? I'm like, will you put my name in the front? Yeah, nothing. I'll do it. Just want to get my name in the book. So it was kind of just like having a piece of the game that was mine, that I was able to contribute to in some way that was more than just saying, you like commas way too much, because that's usually what happens when I edit books. People love commas. Yeah.
But I can hear Sean's voice ringing in my ears now, because I use commas while I'm writing. If I'm just sort of stream consciousness writing, I use commas as pauses rather than as actually what they should be grammatically. Yes. And then I have to go through and edit out a lot of my own commas. But yeah, Sean's constant mantra is too many commas. Guilty as charged.
Almost everybody's guilty of it. But that was for me. I just wanted to have a little piece of it for a couple of reasons. One is I still remember when I discovered the first Kickstarter, and just everything about it was different. From the setting to the game itself, the models, the mechanics. I think every game has a little piece of other games in it anyway, because there's just so much good stuff out there. You use stuff like that, but it was so unique. But then on top of that, you being so involved with the community and being approachable, reachable, and then the fact that you delivered early on a Kickstarter and all of these other things compounded. Why would someone not want to support a game like that? Because I'm all about independent developers anyway. And that was and I wanted to be just a little piece of that, or a big piece, because he's a hippo, he
won't be small, I think.
So that was for me. I just wanted to be just a little piece of it, and to let everybody else have that little piece that I contributed. So
awesome.
That's the same for me. It was the first Kickstarter. I loved the artwork. I loved the world, the miniatures. So I have said myself, I will be part of this. And so I got into gene splicing.
And one wasn't enough, Dominic, though, was it?
Clearly.
I have to say, at the start of this Kickstarter, there was one particular point where we got close to a stretch goal, but not close enough. No, it was. I think it was the funding goal.
Okay.
I told to myself, you know what, I go Gene Splicers again.
So Dominic single-handedly responsible for us funding in 23 minutes.
23 minutes.
There you go. Could have been a half an hour if you hadn't stepped up to the plate.
Yeah.
Well done, sir. Well done.
But I actually really thought, Dominic, when you said you were considering doing it again, and I thought I won't press him because I don't want him to feel pressured to do it by me getting excited. But I 100% thought you would go for a pirate. Because you are literally, the head of Team Pirate, and also because Blue Wing had the pirate connection. I really thought you would you choose a pirate and you would connect the characters thematically, kind of thing. So I was really interested to find you just actually say no, it's not a criticism at all. But I found it really interesting. You were like, no, I'm going to do something totally different this time.
Yeah, as I said, Blue Wing was meant to be the piratey character one, and he was meant to be in the Artifactors, but then we got the Wayfarers, and now I want to do something for my favorite faction for the Artifactors, and yeah.
Well, I'm thinking, since Blue Wing is a pirate, and you thought he was going to do a pirate, and Mathieu is a pirate, and birds clean hippos, I think Blue Wing and Mathieu should be friends.
Definitely. Blue Wing is also a great friend of Kalhana, and why not? Blue Wing loves the big guys.
There you go.
Yeah. So, well, now there's a mental image I didn't need. Thank you for that. Lowering the tone. But no, I think we're going to do some interesting stuff because it's important to me, and part of the reason why the idea of fusing the two factions works is that I am not going to say anything about it, but we're going to do something kind of interesting in the fluff to justify why the Wayfarers and the Corsairs are so closely aligned with each other. And if you read into the Wayfarer fluff a little bit, and they've got this sort of mysterious benefactor kind of pulling strings behind the scenes, and organizing things from the shadows, we might start to unravel that story and find out a little bit more about that. But I'm looking forward. If you think, I would say Wishbone looks pretty piratey already. Blue Wing also. Those two in particular. And so there was kind of a bit of a pirate vibe going on already. So it wasn't too hard to think of some fluff justification for fusing them.
Yeah, Blue Wing missed just a little bandana, and off he goes. Onward.
So I guess the next question is on the subject of pirates and the pirate faction and how they're going to develop in the future. What intrigues you guys most about them, and in particular talking about Mathieu and Blue Wing, I guess, because that's where the pirate connection is. What aspect of that interests and excites you, and where do you think that story can go? The idea of bringing bringing these pirates into the forefront of the Drowned Earth story.
You got anything, Dominic? I do. You don't.
Yeah, go for it.
I like the idea as a terrain builder. I like the idea of jumping into stuff that pirates would be raiding. They're not really going to be, in my mind anyway, they're not really going to be raiding on the land. They're going to be raiding whatever sort of resources are out there in the water, that whether they're traders or old abandoned ships or any sort of things that are out there, and sailing on the high seas kind of thing, and being able to put together those tables, which I had talked about a long time ago. I built a terrain piece specifically for a scenario idea that Sean had way back at the very beginning of the Kickstarter.
Was that the huge wrecked oil tanker
that's sinking as you play on it?
Yeah.
So that as you have to move up through it as you're searching on it for things like that. Is that just that terrain building? And it kind of seems to me they're not don't feel like they're nailed down in a location. So it seems to me like they would kind of be a vessel to, you see what I did there? A vessel in a drowned world, a vessel to explore the rest of the world. Yeah, because that's what they do. They're pirates.
Well,
pirates
exactly. You've got the trade winds and trade routes, and those are basically roadways for connecting the world together, sort of thing. And you're always your mental image of the Caribbean pirates is that there's lots of people from different parts of the world. You've got the sort of Barbary pirates and Far Eastern pirates, and all coming together in this kind of this mix of very diverse, crazy coolness. And I definitely see, the Drowned Earth is a world that's a little bit like that already, because we've got lots of the different races and different cultures all sort of mixing together. And so I find the pirates are definitely a vehicle for that, a vehicle to explore other parts of the world, even though we're operating in the Thousand Isles. And in particular, in the Thousand Isles, you've got these two, you've got Kerm and Cadiz, these two great empires. And basically the pirates operate in the no man's land in between, where they've created a buffer zone between them, a little bit like I don't know if either of you saw The Man in the High Castle. Was it Netflix or Amazon? It was a show. Amazon. So it's from it's Arthur C. Clarke, isn't it? Or no, it's not. It's another sort of classic science fiction writer who I can't think of at the moment. But it's set in an alternate 1960s, really, where the Germans won the war, and the USA is partitioned between the Reich on the one side and the Japanese Empire on the other, and then right through the middle, well, not actually through the middle, the mountains, the Rocky Mountains, are basically the neutral zone. And within the neutral zone, there's no law and order, but lots of freedom. People who are living that kind of pirate dream of just sailing the seas and being being free, Pirates of the Caribbean style. And so you've kind of got in the Thousand Isles, you've kind of got that same situation of this area of pirate territories, and there are lots of different pirate clans where basically they live in the buffer zone between these two great empires who don't want to fight each other, and so have created this agreement to leave the middle portion alone.
I think the other thing that it does, at least on my tables, what it's going to do is that, much like real history, a lot of exploring kind of happened from pirates, people that weren't necessarily, they weren't going to just explore. They were going to do something not necessarily so nice and just happened on these things. So I think as the history were to progress, jump 500,000 years into the future of the Drowned Earth, and all of a sudden Blue Wing was your Amerigo Vespucci making the Drowned Earth. Nobody knows about all the other stuff that he did with the pirates. And the other thing too is, I think as you start playing on that water, again, stuff I'll be doing on my table, what a great opportunity to go below the deck of the ship and above the deck of the ship. Because I mean, Blue Wing's got wings. I'm just saying. Yeah. And hippos can swim. Just throwing that out there.
Definitely. He's got to oil those wings. I think they'll rust in salt water quite easily. But no, I like it.
Also, the pirates could be everywhere in Eulalia. You can have them on the Titanoboa River and do a smuggling mission with them. Yeah, but we all know. No ship is faster than Tidala's ship on the Titanoboa River run.
Yeah.
Made it in under 12 frog legs, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, that's a joke in very poor taste.
And they're just not stopping either, are they?
Yeah, Tidala does not like garlic. I'm getting that general impression. But no, it's all very cool stuff, and I'm really looking forward to working not just on the characters themselves, but the character backgrounds as well, as we sort of work out. And so, in particular for you, Mac, where we've got the sort of your character is part of the pirate faction in the Drowned Earth, but obviously just a one of the protagonists of the campaign story. And so how does that work? That's something we can talk about. Does he become a member of the pirate faction after the story of Raptorclaw Island, or is he shipwrecked on Raptorclaw Island and basically meeting up with all of the people that he knows and maybe likes, maybe doesn't like so much? That's something we can have a conversation about.
He likes everybody.
He's one happy hippo.
He is a happy hippo. He thinks Kaneda just needs a hug.
Yeah.
Now, how Kaneda responds to that will be directly proportional to how hard of a hug he receives.
Oh, excellent. Well, so actually, there was one more thing I wanted to talk about, Gene Splicer related. Obviously, we haven't gone through the process now, and actually, Dominic, you've reminded me last time we had a Facebook group, and I think it would be great to do that again. And I think there was one person who didn't want to be part of the Facebook group, and that's fine. That was their choice. But most people did, and I imagine this time it will be the same thing. There's it's an optional thing; people don't have to do it, but it'll be nice for those that do to kind of get together and talk about backstories and maybe whether there's any connection between their characters, and let those sort of creative juices flow. But the question I was going to ask was the kind of perception of the Gene Splicer process, and obviously Mac for in the Drowned Earth Kickstarter, and Mac, for you that's going to be a kind of looking from the outside in perspective. Dominic, you'll have a bit of a sort of inside perspective. It's too early to compare them, the processes now, but what was it like the first time around? What did you like about it? What were the things that you think people might find interesting?
Oh, I love the unit of the Gene Splicers. We came together totally not knowing each other, and we found a connection with the characters. So as I said, with Bluewing and Kalhana, I've talked to. This time it was Tristan. I mean,
that's Tristan.
That's Tristan. I talked to Tristan on Twitter about Kalhana, so I helped him to get the idea for Kalhana himself, and it was fun to see the process to work with you, James. Because you are so excited about all the characters that are come, and you have had so much fun, and all the different stories we had with the people who brought in the characters. The guy who brought Aronnax. It was an old LARP character from a deceased friend from him.
That's right. Yeah, he did it as a tribute to his friend,
and that was awesome. It was a bit heartbreaking, but also I said yes, that's the spirit.
Yeah, it was nice. It was. I was really proud to be a part of that. Again, it was sort of humbling, and it was actually. I haven't spoken to him, and I don't know. I don't think he's backed this time around. But I don't mind him knowing that this was true anyway. But I wouldn't want him to sort of feel like it was a problem of any kind. But it was a lot of pressure, because I knew we really needed to get that right, and it was a big thing. And obviously I wanted to get everyone's right, but that in particular was it was on a different level. Sorry, Muffin wants to say hello.
Hello, Muffy.
Hello.
I don't think she really does want to say hello. I think she just wants to annoy me. But yeah. So Mac, looking from the outside in, how did the process seem? I don't know how well we kind of publicized it. I don't think we were enormously vocal about what was happening sort of in the Facebook chat, for example, but generally you must have seen it kind of come together and the announcement that it was going to be a full faction.
Yeah, I really wanted to get in on the first one, but I couldn't. As a matter of fact, we had just adopted 3 more kids.
Yeah.
So that was kind of when I fell off of the beta testing and everything, because I don't know how many kids y'all got, but I got 5. And that's a lot of work when you add 3 more.
I can imagine.
2.
Yeah.
So I just couldn't. So at the time, I just couldn't do it. But from the outside looking in, I didn't want to be on the outside looking in. I wanted to know what everybody was doing. And I was so excited about the Wayfarer faction. And I think the thing that appealed to me the most about the whole concept of the Gene Splicer was that here you are, the creator of the game, right? So you have, this is your world. And it's okay for people to just run with their own idea, but everybody has something to contribute, and to be willing to listen to what other people have to contribute, still make it conform to what, we're not going to have any space Marines walking through the drowned earth. So it has to still conform, but to be willing to open up the game that you've poured your heart and soul into to allow the people that are showing that, hey, we love this game, to allow them to participate in the process. That says a lot about you and about the game.
Yeah.
So, and that's what I'm excited about right now, looking in the first couple days of it is that part of it. And I'm actually really excited to do the Facebook group thing. Totally should do that. Yeah. I need more ideas from other people.
Yeah, no, I really, that was a big part of it for me as well. I spoke to everybody individually, and I kind of involved them in the art process and asked them for, as I've done with you two guys, if you've got any kind of visual influences that you want me to show the artist and stuff like that. It's too confusing and too difficult for the artist to have 2 bosses, so to speak. So the best workflow, and so this is the last thing, we're almost out of time, but I thought that, kind of asking you guys a bunch of questions, but I thought I would end up sort of just describing the process from my perspective for anybody who's interested in the way it works. And there were two things, and I'll basically be picking up on your observations, Mac, about how the process went. Everyone was really collaborative, and everybody they weren't interested, I think I said earlier, they weren't interested in kind of handing me a shopping list. Everyone was interested in wanting to be part of the creative process, and everyone came with a set idea of what they wanted, but it was kind of like, well, I like this, and what do you think about that? And obviously a big part of it, and something that I was nervous about, not this time, but the first time I was a little bit nervous about doing it at all, because the world is my baby, and it has to be, people's ideas have to be world appropriate, and so I put that as a kind of disclaimer of that there is a kind of a point where I don't want to have to say no to anything, but if it is Space Marines wandering around, then the answer is, well, we can't really do that, and whatever we do, we have to make it world appropriate. We can't infringe on anybody else's IP is another thing, mostly it just has to be something that's suitable and appropriate to the world. And to a man, every single person last time around, and everybody that I've spoken to this time around, it's been the same. They were interested in being part of the creative process and making something in the world. They weren't interested in imposing their idea on the world, so to speak, which is what I was nervous about to begin with. But moving on from that, the actual process itself is, the fun bit is having a dialogue with the backer, you guys, and saying, so what are your ideas, and bouncing a few things back and forth and saying, I mean, generally, like I've liked all the ideas, and so it hasn't been a problem, but kind of, steering the process a little bit to say, okay, well, maybe that's doesn't quite fit in thematically or something like that, or just logistically. So Mac, we were having a conversation about which bird species survive in the world, and again, I want to be kind of free and easy on things like that. But if there are things that have already been decided, and it was specifically, I looked it up and thought, oh yeah,
right.
no, we kind of can't retcon that because it's actually written in black and white in the rule book. And but beyond, so there's that kind of dialogue going on, and really, to me, dialogue is the right word. It feels like a brainstorming session where you guys throw ideas at me and I kind of catch them and say, ooh, and how about this? And like ways to either sort of asking questions about it to kind of clarify the ideas, and maybe make a few suggestions, and and they really are. I hope both of you will agree. They're definitely suggestions of, do you like the sound of this? And we could do that. And there's something about the world. So Dominic, you and I, when we were talking about the which gender your character would be, I spoke about the Moche a little bit more and described their kind of their biology and how that works with the gender.
Also the tribal culture.
So we're going to work in some, even though she's left her tribe and operates in the regular world as a sort of worldly wise type person. She still has a couple of visual cues that she still remembers that she belonged to that culture and those are her origins, kind of thing. And little things like that. I think generally two heads are better than one a lot of the time, and that's why it's really nice to be part of a group collaborative process, because you kind of turn into a super brain where lots of ideas come up, and that everybody's ideas sort of fertilize everyone else's. It's nice.
50 ideas thrown away usually nets you one really good idea.
Exactly. yeah. And so I won't talk too much about it, Mac, but you came up with some ideas about ways to show his cheerful nature and the kind of things that he likes, and really that one of them was a really strong visual idea that we're going to do, which will look really great and be a bit unique as well, I think. Which and something else to kind of really bed him in the drowned earth as well. So then it's a question of refining those ideas and saying, okay, well, we've got the whiteboard of all of these different ideas, but let's work. What's the goal here? What is the character really? Who are they really, and what's the best way to communicate that? And which of these things on the board are maybe good ideas, but ideas we don't need? And what do we cross off, and what goes to the next cut, kind of thing, in order to hone the idea to be really strong, both visually and sort of thematically. And Mac, I know I keep on talking to you about silhouette, and I haven't necessarily explained it, but in character design, something that's quite important is that if you just draw an outline and you've got no detail but just the silhouette, is the character readable? And if it is, then you've got a good character design. And if it isn't, it's probably too busy, and you should cut it back. And that's actually a sort of trick that a lot of artists use to work out whether their idea is clearly communicating what they want it to. Because if you strip everything else away and that works, then you've got the foundations really strong.
Cool.
And we've definitely got that with yours. And then it's handing it over to the artist, basically. And then there's definitely a little bit of uncertainty there that you've nurtured this baby since it was born, and now you need to go to work and it's time to hand it over to daycare. and it might come back, having had a great day, or it might come back in floods of tears and tantrums.
Right.
So there's a little bit of trust going on there when we hand over to the artist, that they've understood the idea and that they've, sort of done what we want. And that's always a little bit, I do it when I'm designing my own characters as well. That's always a little bit of a nervous moment. Has he really understood what I mean? And then that's basically the character design done. The sculpting process is much easier, and what
Right.
and what will, because with the idea and probably the pose is already pretty clearly defined, but what happens in between the character art and the sculpt is we have a kind of an opportunity to check that it's going in the direction that we want. And sometimes there might be a few things that, when we look at the concept art, we're like, well, that doesn't quite work as well as I'd like, or actually it's a really cool concept and I love all the details and everything about it, but the pose isn't quite what we want, and maybe we'll tweak the pose a little bit.
Right.
So that'll give us another opportunity to intervene in between the concept artist and the sculptor to get the miniature we want, basically.
I'm excited.
So am I.
And it's super fun, and I hope that you two guys will enjoy it as much as I do. And
I have no doubt.
I look forward to revealing to you and to everyone what the other Gene Splicers that I've spoken to so far are thinking about. And finally, just one other thing that I wanted to mention, sort of publicly, is that I was talking to another. I won't mention who it is, but it's somebody that a lot of people will know. Another active member of the community who I was in sort of dialogue with before the from the start of the campaign, and he just decided to go for the Gene Splicer level, and the last one was snapped up literally just the morning that he decided to do it. And so I spoke to you two guys and to the other Gene Splicers and said, look, this isn't a situation of I've sold out and I want more money and I'm going to, I've decided that it's a limited pledge level and now I'm going to increase the limit because it's sold out. It's just because I felt really bad. He was really disappointed. And he thought of a really cool idea, which again, I'm not going to talk about in case it doesn't happen because we haven't had everybody come back to us. But both of you two guys were resoundingly, in fact, you were the first two to answer, and both of you were like, yep, great, more the merrier. Do it.
Exactly.
Do it immediately. But I just wanted to ask how you felt about that in terms of there being a cap on how many of these were available, and that kind of that idea of it being an exclusive club that you've joined, and then after there being a set membership, that membership number increasing.
How we felt about that?
Yeah, because that's the thing that I was most concerned about. It was the idea that I'd missold it by saying there's only 6 of these, but now there's 7, and now there's 8, and now there won't be. And as I explained, it's not it's not changing the goalposts for an arbitrary reason or a financial reason. It's just because I felt really bad. The guy felt really disappointed that he'd missed his chance.
No, I don't even really feel like it's an exclusive club because all the models are made available. It's not like it's not like anything is designed and it's even a Kickstarter exclusive. They'll be for sale in the store. So I don't feel like it's exclusive. Everything in a design process has some exclusivity to it, though, obviously. And as the creator, I think that that's at the discretion of someone. That's where people, you know more about a particular situation than anybody else in the list of people watching. So you're more informed to be able to make that decision that, hey, should we pop another one? And I believe that the community is well enough aware of your integrity and the quality of what you're delivering that that's just there must have been a really good idea. And it is, because I know what it is. So it's a really good idea.
I definitely tried to tug on the heartstrings a little bit by saying, and here is the idea, because I bet you'll think it's as cool as I do.
So now I'm curious. I did see one question. That's why I phrased it that way. Everything is available. So somebody asked, Eric asked if they were, so everything's available. And so I think that kind of, if you will, it kind of makes the road safe for you to make those kind of decisions, because you've already set the tone for how the Drowned Earth and the game and all of the process works. You've made it like it's like a safe place to function.
Yeah. Well, what I said was that if anyone said no, then the answer would be no. But so far nobody said no. I'm still waiting back to hear from a couple of people. But yeah. So Dominic, how did you feel about that whole thing?
Yeah, we both talked beforehand about the amount of Gene Splicers you will have on this Kickstarter, and I just said you have to think about the models you have to make in that time for the delivery time, and I don't think that's a problem. And beforehand, it wasn't a problem for me to 6 to 8 Gene Splicers this time, no problem. But would there be 15 or 20? I don't think so. So it was a good cap with 6. Perhaps next time 8.
Yeah, and if it was 15 or something like that, it would start to jeopardize the project deadline, and that's something that I absolutely am not willing to do. So there's a functional cap anyway, but 6 was an arbitrary number, and it could have been 8, and I went with 6 in the end. But maybe we'll do 8 in the future. But I think the problem is we'll always have that situation of maybe somebody in the final hour is. They're going to be fighting over the last one, which is always going to be disappointing for somebody. But I think the other takeaway is that every Gene Splicer is going to be another model in the Drowned Earth range and another character option in Elia Chronicles as well, and so it benefits everyone that there's one more really. So yeah, we'll see. But Mac, you were going to say something.
Oh, I must not have been too important because I don't even remember what it was. So it must not have been
to my world. Yeah.
Sander in the chat asked, will the Gene Splicers be available in the backer kit?
Yeah, they will. We'll definitely be able to do that. I know last time I was unsure, and I said we'll try, but I'm a bit nervous about making too many promises because I'm not sure. But this time I'm absolutely confident that we'll be able to do that. And knowing a little bit more about the process and having been doing it for a number of years, it's easier for me to answer those questions. So yes, we'll have them in backer kit, I think. And we'll clearly label which faction they belong to and that sort of thing. So all of the options, and people might find that they're perfectly happy with the Elia Chronicles hero models, but that they want a particular character for their favorite faction. So they'll be able to buy 1 or 2. They don't. Although we're not going to be selling the Corsairs as individual models. Dahu obviously is individual because she comes outside the core box, but we'll be selling the box as a box, and the same with the hero models. But the Gene Splicer people will definitely be able to just buy the individual blister if that's what they want to do.
Well, all I know is I'm going to quit changing my pledge level because we keep unlocking stuff. I'm just going to change it in backer kit. I'm tired of going into changing.
I'm losing even more hair about it because I'm looking at it thinking last time we did a big sort of all-in-one pledge level, and I'm looking at it now and I'm thinking we can't do that because people have to remortgage their house in order to get everything that we've unlocked.
Justin is in the chat.
Ah, excellent. So he is, too late, Justin.
Yeah.
We were talking about you earlier on, but yeah, no, Blue Wing still. Blue Wing, Wishbone is still actually one of my absolute favorite sculpts. It's I'm not going to sort of play favorites with the sculptors, but I was particularly happy with the way that he came out. Yeah, soon to be a pirate, which is also exciting news.
Team Pirate.
Yeah, Team Pirate, Team Dino,
UC Pirate,
like Team Pirate Dino.
No, just Pirate.
Well, yeah, we'll see. Yeah. We're gonna have some big. Everybody's gonna have to hug and kiss and make up at the end of the campaign, because we're not. These sorts of team games are fun, but everybody needs to remember it's just a game.
Well, Mattia will lead the charge on the hugging and
everybody, making everyone
having a good time.
Yeah, excellent.
So Sean, I got a hippo. What does you have?
No, looking forward to it, and I'm really looking. Obviously, the Elia Chronicle side of things is exciting, but I'm really excited in this Kickstarter to be able to contribute to the regular Drowned Earth factions and not just dinos. So that'll be fun. Now we've already unlock the possibility of using the hero models as unnamed troops for any faction. They'll ship with a bunch of different profile cards for unnamed character profiles for all of the factions. Perhaps not. Well, it won't be Wayfarers and pirates. It'll just be pirates, because obviously there's no point in having troop profiles that are mercenaries when every faction will have individual troop profiles. But there'll be lots of options there. But it's nice to actually add some characters as well, a bit more diversity to the range. So that's something that pleases me personally as a Drowned Earth player. I think that's just about all we've got time for, unless there are any more questions. And in the meantime, while we're waiting to see if there are any other questions, have you guys got any kind of final thoughts on gene splicing, on the Kickstarter, on the fluff, anything you like?
I'm broke now, and my wife will kick me out of the house, and so
I've got a spare room. It's okay.
I do too, but it might be a little bit far away. Might be a little bit far away. I'm excited. I'm excited for the solo options. I'm really excited for the Corsairs. I love the idea of the pirate faction. That was where I was building all the terrain boats that I have over on my shelf. And so I'm really excited about that. And it's really cool to be able to participate in it. And unfortunately, I'm probably going to end up just like Dominic, because if there's another one, now I'm going to have to do another Gene Splicer. It's like crack or something. You got to do another one.
Yeah.
So of course it'll be your third one when you're doing it, because I know you'll have to do that one too. Don't pretend.
So I have one final point to make, which I mentioned in other streams, but this seems like the appropriate one. The leader of the pirates. Now, this does not at all jeopardize my neutrality from Team Pirate and Team Dino, but the leader of the Corsairs in the Corsair starter box is Jay, or as he's been referred to, Mr. Smirky. He's the guy standing in the middle with the sword and the sort of like, cheeky expression on his face. He's my Gene Splicer, because he's an old Star Wars RPG character that I started playing, I guess, in about 2001, and played for more than a decade. And he was the leader of the Blue Star Pirates, operating in the Outer Rim, and he's been ported over from the our Star Wars long-standing Star Wars RPG campaign into the Drowned Earth. So I'm really excited about that. And we're Mac, we're now faction mates.
Yes.
Team UC Pirates in the house.
That's right, Team UC Pirates.
Well, if I ever manage to free up some time and join any of these RPG streams, then I guess we know who I'm playing, right?
I guess so.
I still have to get into your RPG sometimes and play Blue Wing. So, and we also have now hippo to play with.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. No, I thought about running a session, an RPG session, during the Kickstarter, and I thought actually I've got so much to do, and I'm so sleep deprived at the moment that I'm going to hold off and let Brighter Minds take control of that whole situation. So but once again, to reiterate, it's tomorrow night at 7:30. If anybody fancies jumping in, if you're a backer, you've already got the rule system. It's a mighty 2 pages, so not too much to keep control of. You need a couple of D10s, and if you've got the Drowned Earth dice, then that's already perfect. But contact one of us, or put a comment on the Kickstarter saying you would like to join in, and we will get you hooked up with the GM, and we will be broadcasting on YouTube like this live. So should be lots of fun, and I hope few people will jump in.
Yeah, and also the German RPG session will not be this week. Perhaps next week if the people are coming by.
Cool. Yeah. So any German language natives, then Dominic is definitely the person to speak to about getting in on that. I wish I spoke German. I have a strong suspicion that you'd make an excellent GM. I don't know why I think that, but having worked with you on the Gene Splicer level and seeing your imagination running, I'm confident in that opinion. Great. So I think that's definitely a wrap, guys. So thank you so much for coming on, both of you. It was great fun. Great to kind of have a little bit of an insight into the mind of a Gene Splicer, and what makes it an appealing idea, and what you're excited about, and to hear a little bit of a preview about the characters that we've all got coming soon.
Yeah, exciting stuff.
Excellent. So, yeah, should be fun. And we will be streaming again next week. I don't know what the topic will be next week, but tune in, same time, same place, etc. We're halfway through. Next week we will be 3/4 of the way through, with only 1 week to go. And then the week after that, I think we finish on a Tuesday basically. And so I think we'll have a 15-minute stream once the campaign is over to raise a glass of something semi-alcoholic, and then I'm going to go to bed for a full week and not move.
Good idea.
Excellent. Thanks very much, guys, and speak to you all soon. Okay.
Goodbye.